Welcome back to the Ljn channel. Today we will be taking 5 toy lines from the 80s and 90s and matching them up against their video game versions. What's more fun, playing with the toy or going to the arcade? We will be using actual toys for this competition as well as playing the real arcade versions to decide which is better in my top 5 choices for arcade versus toy. Helping me judge this competition is my good friend Ryan.
Hello, I am Ryan, friend of Ljn.
We will both be given a chance to inspect the toy at the inspection table, and then we will move on to playing the video game version. We will be doing our best to judge this competition as if we were children. We cannot compare the challenge of a video game to the imagination of playing with a toy, so it's just a competition of which one is more fun. 80s toys were iconic, so were there any games that were good enough to compare? Let's get started. Okay, so the toy is Rambo, the Forces of Freedom. These come out in 1986. The articulation is just one step higher, I guess, than the Masters of the Universe.
They were breaking away from the traditional toys like Star Wars and GIJoe, right? They were very small. They were Rambo, but just looked pretty cool.
Trapdoor in there.
Oh, I didn't know they had a trapdoor. That's awesome.
You get 2 Rambos in the jail. Oh, there you go. This is kind of like the Space Harrier, but sideways. There was a different one that had, what do you call it, like a trackball? Control the, whatever you call it, the aim.
I remember Mortal Kombat was the first one. There was the home game that really killed it.
Yeah, when the Super Nintendo and Street Fighter come out, it seemed pretty close, but even
Street Fighter, yeah.
When I play like the Street Fighter version on here, it's the arcade version, you can see that it is different than the Super Nintendo version.
Alright, so my first judgment is on Rambo. I think I would actually choose the toy over the game because the game was kind of like mindless. It was just going back and forth and shooting, and I really liked the size of the Rambo toy and the articulation.
It was not my favorite articulated toy. It definitely wasn't GIJoe, but the legs bent so you could pose it in different positions for machine gunning. The video game I enjoyed a lot more. I wasn't a big challenge guy. Like Ghosts and Goblins wasn't my favorite game, so a game like Rambo that I could just pump quarters into and make it to the end, I had a lot of fun doing. So for me, I'm going to pick the video game. I think going to the arcade to play Rambo would have gotten me out of the house and to put the toys away for the afternoon, so. Okay, next we have Batman from 1989, Kenner.
The thing about this Batman series, the toys, the vehicles are so amazing. The Batmobile and the Batwing and even the Bat Cave, they're amazing, but the toys are so lame. Did you ever think that?
That's just plastic, but that's the armored shield. The Batman that came with this or whatever from 1989 was the same scale as these guys here, but he was black and then he had that yellow belt that shot with the rope on it.
Yeah.
But I like how it was the same scale as these guys, so that you could mix it in with your regular Batman figures.
Yeah, these are the superpowers. This is DC's reaction to Secret Wars.
Yeah. So
the superpowers is actually conceived and drawn by Jack Kirby. They got the king of comics to launch this, to launch something that can compete with Marvel's Secret Wars.
Oh, it's just a noise.
This thing shoots the guns here. This thing.
Oh, does it?
Yep. Do you have missiles?
I don't know.
You lift it up. There you go. There you go.
Holy shit! I could put an eye out. There goes Firestorm. I liked Firestorm, to be honest.
I have no idea what his character does. I think he can fly. I think he's from outer space, but I have nothing.
Yeah, there.
Am I starting?
Yeah, you give it a try. I've already tried this, so I think it's pretty fun, actually.
Look how grimy these streets are. I mean, this is really dirty Gotham. I can do lots of cool moves. Like I can do a sweep kick, I can do a punch, I can throw a boomerang.
How many buttons for attack? Is there
There's
just
only 2.
one?
There's jump and fight.
Jump and attack? Wow.
Shield's open.
Nice. Now we get to see the driving sequence.
Okay, it tells you right off the bat really quickly, shoot the black crimson cars only. There's a lot of bad guys on the road if I'm only shooting the black cars. But I mean, no one does the Batmobile like Tim Burton. I mean, he's a genius. Batman. The Batman graphics for the arcade was really awesome, but I was really frustrated by, like, you get stuck at a place and you can't get by, and you just have to keep trying and trying and trying, and it just gets frustrating. As for the toys, there's the coolest toys were the Batmobile and the Batwing. Those toys are some of the best toys I've ever had. But the toy series that belonged to it was really lame. I mean, like, for a toy as late as 1989, it could have been a lot better. I mean, they could have improved on GIJoe or on Superpowers, but it feels like they took a step backwards. So if it's between the toys and the show, I guess I would probably have to side with the toys again. They were just so cool.
It was more or less just like the other Justice League figures, you know, articulated with 5 points like a Star Wars figure. But because I was such a Batman fan, and it was a, you know, Batman all in black, which was really cool, I was a huge fan of the toy. I think in this case I would pick the action figure because I like the Batmobile, I like the vehicles, I like the toys. Alright, inspection table. Okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There we go. Well, we got the vehicle. But one thing I wanted to say is I find they're not much better than a Mo 2, you know what I mean? I kind of grew
Masters of the Universe?
Yeah, I kind of grew into GIJoe. They were more articulated, so when these come out, they were cool and everything.
Well, like He-Man was made for, the cartoon was made for kids, and Ninja Turtles was kind of kiddie too.
Yeah,
it wasn't too deep. But GIJoe was like more mature. They had better stories that carry over time. These stories is kind of hard to watch on the old television show.
It reminded me of Ghostbusters. Like,
yeah,
it was after kind of GIJoe was popular, but still bought them because they look cool to set on the shelf. But
yeah, and Ninja Turtles has some wacky toys. I mean, like the wackier the better, you know, like Mondo Gecko and Muck Monster and stuff. And
you're a fan of the comic book, eh?
I read the comic. Yeah, it's very faithful to the movie.
The movie?
But within 5 or 10 issues, they were in outer space conquering the great planets of the unknown. That's where the Triceratops, the orange Triceratops guy, there's like a race of him, and they're like, the Ninja Turtles fight him, and it gets really cosmic.
What do you think of the cartoon?
The first initial 5 episodes were amazing because they were like setting the stage, and then the art got worse and the story got worse.
Yeah.
But they gotta have like the pilot show, which was like a 5 episodes, 1 week worth, and it was amazing. They introduced the Tetradrome, they introduced Krang, they introduced it was awesome. Well,
let's see what you think of the video game.
Yep. 1989.
Yeah, but Konami.
Oh, yeah, there's the opening.
Remember this?
Mm-hmm. Coolest ever. The art, the graphics on this was so cool. I mean, back in the day, you could only get it in the arcade. You could only get this cool graphics.
I think there's only 2. I'm gonna be Donatello. I think there's only 2 buttons. It's either these 2 or these 2. But
hang on, April.
See, like, this is right out of the cartoon. This is like the original miniseries. I think.
Yeah, just the 2.
I can't turn.
If you hit them together, I think. Just. Oh, I remember this. That thing shoots up. You're gonna fight Bebop, I think. Rocksteady.
Oh, we good?
And there's April. All right.
Ninja Turtles. I was blown away with the graphics for the Ninja Turtles. You can go up and down the screen. You have multiple moves. You can choose multiple characters: Raphael, Leonardo, and it's following the first 5 pilot episodes of the TV show, and it was amazing. I love the toys, but the game was just so much better. It's just you can't compete.
Okay, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Once again, the action figure, being a G.I. Joe fan, I'm not a big fan of the figure. It's kind of like a Masters of the Universe, which I enjoyed very much, but I grew out of them and into G.I. Joe. So, you know, going to the arcade to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time was a treat. Getting to play with 4 of your friends was also a treat. You couldn't do that with a lot of games. Like Double Dragon was one of my favorite games, but 2 players at once was the most, so that was fantastic. So in this case, I'm picking the video game again, as being my choice. Okay, next we have G.I. Joe, a line that's hard to compete with, but the video game and the action figure comparison here is around the 92-ish era, so it's the DIC one anyway, it's not the Sunbow, so it's the next...
It's after the whole Cobra Law stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have Duke version 4.
Oh, that's Duke.
Yeah, that's Duke. So they use that one for the game. And Snake Eyes, there's a Scarlet in the video game, but in the cartoon, the DIC one, they use the same Scarlet, but she's got purple instead of the gray.
Oh, really?
And that's kind of what they did with the video game. Baroness and Destro are the same. They have the hooded Cobra Commander in the video game. And there's a Laser Trooper. It's also in the
And these guys all show up in the game? These show up, all these guys show up in the video game?
Yeah.
Just like they are?
And you're going to see lots of the Hiss tanks too. It's a really cool intro. It should almost show for the camera. It's like a USS Flag, but in the sky.
What? A flying flag? That's like so Marvel, S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
But this was, yeah, no, S.H.I.E.L.D. was happening already.
Lots of Cobra Troopers.
Oh, so they're bad guys. The flying flag is a bad guy ship?
Yeah, it looks like it, yeah. So, pretty good graphics.
They just use the same picture over and over.
Yeah, you'll see the game's a lot like Space Harrier, except you can't fly. Just back and forth. But it's really fun.
Hey, just like the guy you said.
Yeah, the Laser Trooper. There's Heavy Metal, I believe.
Oh, you did your research. You knew exactly who we were going to be fighting.
Duke. Yeah. There's Duke version 4.
Conrad Hauser.
From 92. See, there's the Scarlet with the purple, so that's the cartoon depiction. There's Roadblock. That's a version 3, I believe. But this is also...
how could he be saying Yo Joe?
I know, he doesn't talk. And I think that's version 4 Snake Eyes. That's cool, eh?
Quick
Storm
Kick.
Shadow, Quick Kick. I don't know who that is.
There's a lot of foot soldiers.
You get a missile too, like Rambo. This one is a lot like Rambo.
Yeah, it is. And it's not as articulate as Ninja Turtles. Does this come out after Ninja Turtles or before?
This is 92,
so it's way later.
Yeah, I think it could
they
have
have no
better.
excuse for not being cooler graphics.
There's no excuse. It's got a good intro, and it's got lots. Look at all the Hiss tanks.
Oh wow! Oh, Toman and Zaymon.
Yeah.
Did you fight hand Karma or what?
Whoa, we both. Good.
G.I. Joe. I'm not a big fan of the later G.I. Joe toys, that when they got all sci-fi and stuff. I totally lost interest. When I think of G.I. Joe, I like to be an American soldier. I like my tanks. I like my gunners. I like my tomahawks. Stuff that's real. I want reality out of a war game. And again, the arcade was just like Rambo. You're just going back and forth and shooting mindlessly, and there's no skill to it, and it's mindless. So so a choice between the G.I. Joe toy and the G.I. Joe game. I don't know, that's pretty hard. I'm not a big fan of either. But I guess the graphics on the game were pretty cool. I guess I would probably side with the show, the arcade.
For G.I. Joe, this is difficult because I am a huge fan of G.I. Joe. The video game I really enjoy. Once again, it's a game that you can just pump quarters in and beat if you'd like. There's really no challenge to it. So it's kind of just like playtime. It's like there's no challenge. It's all just imagination. There's lots of vehicles. But For GI Joe, you know, being an O-ring fan and seeing those figures that we went through, I would have to say I give it to the toy line because it's GI Joe, and they sold well in '92, and you know they're GI Joe. They're awesome. Okay, last but not least, we have Ljn Wrestling Figures, first released in 1984.
Yeah, and again we got another ninja. He's one of the fan favorites.
Yeah, Ricky the Dragon. These things, I know they're not articulated at all. They were first actually...
But they're movable, so you can do like holds and locks and headlocks and stuff.
Yeah, they're quite popular amongst kids. Like
I love this guy. This guy was the ultimate bad guy. He was so badass.
Everybody had one. Yeah, he was. I never saw him wrestle much when I was a kid.
Him and Hogan in the steel ring, right? WrestleMania 3 or 2. I like
2-pack.
George the Animal Steel so much because he came out with this Johnny Depp movie called Ed Wood.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
They were buddies. But this was the first version of Hulk Hogan. There was a later one with the white shirt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was my very first purchase and my very favorite wrestler. He was the awesome.
They were perfect, even though they weren't articulated. For some reason, these were so fun.
Yeah, no, the fact that they're rubber and flexible makes it just so much easier to play with. Macho Man, he was in the Spider-Man movie, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played the character. He was the wrestler.
He was in a lot of stuff. I remember the Slim Jim commercials. It was beef jerky.
Yeah.
Only sticks. All right, you want to try the game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this game was WWF WrestleFest. There was the Superstars, same idea, but this one had the Battle Royal. So this came out in 1991. Let's give it a try.
Right off the bat, I love the graphics. What year is this, did you say?
Did we get 2-player? They're 91.
The graphics already is super awesome. Ultimate Warrior. He took over the helm from Hogan.
Yeah, yeah. This was so much fun when we were young.
Oh, are we teammates?
Yeah, I'm Ultimate Warrior, so you're in there first, but I forget how to... There's only a couple buttons.
The graphics are cool.
See, I can sort of help you out if he gets close.
I'm trying to tag you.
I think you have to be up in the top left.
I mean, I'm just hitting buttons here and hoping for the best.
Got it.
I mean, I'm trying to... Here, I'm going to tag you out. There you go. Who is the guy dressed like a police officer?
Big Boss Man. Oops. Didn't mean to pin there, Sergeant Slaughter. Pretty fun though, eh?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really feel I have good control over my moves. I'm just hitting buttons and hoping for the best.
I mean, you could go pretty far in 1/4 in this game as compared to a lot of wrestling games. So.
I like the fact that we're on a team.
Yeah, me too.
And WWF, I'm like a huge fan of the toys. I mean, they're so cool. They're big, they're rubbery, they bend. You can put people in headlocks. You can be rough with them. These are wrestler toys. You want to be rough with your toys, especially when you're wrestling with them. I'm a huge fan of the series. I love the size of them. I love the characters. I love how there's good guys and bad guys. When you're playing the arcade, you're just mindlessly hitting the same button over and over, and you're doing different moves, but there's no skill to it. And I like that we were partners and that we were on the same team, but my heart is with the toys. I guess I'm just a toy guy at heart. I do like the arcades, but I've always leaned towards toys as a creative expression than the mindlessness of a video game. For WWF, as it was called back then, the LJN figures, I was a huge fan. I had maybe about 15, 20 of them, so big fan. I had the wrestling ring. I was always playing with them. But getting out to play this at the arcade was a treat. There was only one place in my town that had it. So, you know, I spent many hours playing the video game. I was a huge fan of both. This is a really hard decision for me to make. Oh, jeez. I think just by a fraction, I would almost give it a tie, but I'm going to have to give it to WrestleFest. It's such an amazing game. It's one of my favorite arcade games.
And I think LJN not being my favorite toy line, being beat to GI Joe, I think I'd have to give this one to the video games. So WrestleFest takes the win.
In conclusion, I'd have to say video games and toys in the 80s is a very close race. Video games may be considered the cousin to toy lines, whereas cartoons and comics were its immediate family. We were lucky to get a video game of our favorite action figure, if at all. If there was a movie of a toy line, there was a better chance of getting a video game. Star Wars, RoboCop, Indiana Jones, and Batman, for example. Comic heroes like X-Men, Superman, Spider-Man, and Punisher also appeared in the arcade. For children, this competition is very close, but as we get older, the games evolved and the toys became collected. But we can still look back on this special time and bring back some joy, hopefully. Thanks for watching.